The views and opinions expressed by guests on this podcast do not necessarily represent those of the podcast, its host, or sponsors. If you would like to discuss the murder in your family on this podcast, please be sure to visit themurderinmyfamily.com for more information. You can support this podcast by visiting patreon.com/themurderinmyfamily. This episode may contain unsettling material or subject matter. Listener discretion is advised.
Thank you for joining me for episode 64 of The Murder in My Family. I'm your host, Mike Morford. In this episode, we're discussing the case of 56-year-old jeweler Wayne Reuter, who was brutally gunned down in his Baltimore, Maryland store, only to be discovered by his nephew, Michael. The discovery would forever change Michael's life. We'll jump into this case after some quick housekeeping. Independent podcasts like this one depend on word of mouth to bring in new listeners. So if you find that you enjoy this podcast, please take a minute to rate and review it wherever you listen to your podcast. And be sure to introduce a friend to the show and invite them to listen. With your help, the show can continue to grow and reach a new audience. To learn more about the show or the cases we discuss, please visit themurderinmyfamily.com. You can also find us on Twitter with the handle @MurderInMyFam, or by searching for the Murder in My Family podcast on Facebook. If you'd like to support the show through a Patreon donation, it's always appreciated. And you can do so by visiting patreon.com/themurderinmyfamily. Benefits of supporting the show on Patreon include early access to ad-free episodes of the show, plus bonus content not heard in regular episodes. Support may also include thank you cards, stickers, and more. If you prefer to, you can also support the show through a PayPal donation by visiting paypal.me/themurderinmyfamily. In each episode, I'll give shoutouts to any new supporters. And thank you to all of the supporters that generously donate and help keep the show growing and improving. One more note before we get started. Please consider supporting any of the sponsors that you hear on The Murder in My Family, the way that those sponsors support the show. It's with our sponsor support that we can go on and continue to provide a platform to share these stories with you in every episode. Thank you. And now on with the show. For 20 years, 56-year-old Wayne Reuter bought and sold jewelry and precious metals. He owned the Reuter & Company Jewelry and Antique Store, located in a shopping center in the 6900 block of Ryerstown Road in Baltimore, Maryland. Wayne was always a bit wild, and perhaps some might describe him as a bit rough around the edges. But he was someone who his nephew Michael Reuter looked up to. Wayne had a bit of an adventurous side to him, and had experienced a lot during his 56 years. When Wayne talked to his nephew, or took him out, you never knew what Wayne might say or do. But it was that bit of a wild streak that was appealing to Michael. And to Michael, Wayne was more than an uncle. He was his best friend, and the pair worked together at the jewelry store. On December 26, 2009, Michael Reuter went to the store where he worked with Wayne, and found his uncle lying face down on the store's floor in a pool of blood. It was obvious that Wayne was dead, and although he had been shot several times, Michael originally thought that he had been stabbed repeatedly. Horrified and in shock, Michael tried to render aid to his uncle, but then realized there was nothing he could do. Suddenly, in fear that the person who killed his uncle might still be in the store, Michael grabbed the shotgun that they kept for self-defense and went to get help. The police were called, and when they arrived, they noticed there was no sign of forced entry, which suggested that Wayne knew his killer and let them in. While they processed the scene for clues, Michael was taken to the Northwest Police Station in Baltimore City, where police questioned him. It all seemed like a blur to the heartbroken young man, but despite being devastated by the tragic murder, Michael felt he knew who killed his uncle. He told detectives that a man named Stanislav Yelizarov, who went by Steven, might be a suspect. He was an acquaintance of Wayne's. At the time of Wayne's murder, Steven was out on bail on an unrelated armed robbery charge. In April 2009, he had burglarized the home of another acquaintance. He stole several guns and accessories, including a llama handgun equipped with a suppressor, which had been converted to fire .22 caliber ammunition. On Christmas Day 2009, The day before Wayne's murder, Stephen told Wayne Reuter that he knew people in New York who wanted to sell a large amount of gold. The two had been meeting frequently over the past few weeks, discussing the potential transaction. A transaction that possibly included $30,000 worth of gold. Police investigated Yelizarov, and in short order, pieced together what they think happened. They believe that on December 26th, Yelizarov drove to Wayne Reuter's store and entered through the front door. He shot Wayne once with the Llama handgun at the entrance of the store, the same gun that he had stolen earlier from another person. He then shot Wayne 14 more times, as Wayne fled to the back of the store trying to escape the gunshots. After he was dead on the floor, Yelizarov then stole Wayne's bank bag that contained between $15,000 and $30,000 in cash. Following the murder, the gunman dismantled the handgun and disposed of it in a quarry near his home. Although they believed they had the right man, there wasn't enough evidence to arrest Yelizarov at that point, so police kept a close eye on him. Weeks turned into months, and months into years. In May 2015, Stephen Yelizarov was one of 7 people indicted in connection with the conspiracy to rob another jewelry store, Antony Jewelers, in 2013. He was the mastermind behind an elaborate scheme to rob the store, and then split the proceeds with those he recruited. The group's crime spree started in 2012 with the home invasion of a residence on Nicodemus Road in Ryerstown. One of the conspirators had been inside the home as a guest to become familiar with the layout, and he took notice of the large number of weapons that the homeowner owned. When the group entered the man's home through a garage door, Yelizarov and the rest of his cohorts made sure their faces were concealed in ski masks, black clothing, and latex gloves. They tied up a person who was in the home with a belt and cord, while the men ransacked the house. The group made off with a crossbow, a laptop, 10 rifles and shotguns, and jewelry. Following that robbery, Yelizarov went on a solo robbery in the fall of 2012 and netted a handgun and shotgun. Yelizarov was involved in several other crimes, and he later sold some of the jewelry from his heist for $29,000. But the problem for him was that the purchaser was an FBI informant. Yelizarov sold other items in Brooklyn, New York. Following an investigation, armed with enough evidence, police arrested him on January 25, 2013. But he wasn't arrested in relation to Wayne's murder or any of the robberies. He was arrested for a passport violation. That arrest was followed by an official connection to the burglaries and thefts. And when he saw the writing on the wall, Yelizarov pleaded guilty to conspiracy to affect commerce by robbery, kidnapping, and using a firearm to commit a crime of violence. He was sentenced to 360 months in prison and ordered to pay $500,000 in restitution. While he was behind bars, police, with help of FBI, continued to investigate him for Wayne Reuter's murder. In June 2016, when they finally had enough against him, FBI agents arrested Yelizarov for Wayne Reuter's murder. By this point, he was 26 years old. In 2018, Yelizarov was sentenced to 20 years in prison, followed by 5 years of supervised release for one count of use, carry and discharge of a firearm during and in relation to crime of violence, causing the death of another. These details were listed on the website justice.gov. The arrest and sentencing of Wayne's killer didn't really comfort his grieving nephew Michael. He carried a lot of guilt that he couldn't help protect his uncle, and guilt that he was alive still, when he very easily could have been killed. As it turns out, Michael was supposed to be with Wayne that day, but he laid down for a nap and overslept, not arriving at the store until the violence was over. In the aftermath of his uncle's murder, Michael has struggled with depression and substance abuse. It took him a while to get through that, and while he's in a better place now, he still continues to battle to this day. I sat down with Michael to talk about his struggles and his Uncle Wayne's case. That conversation is coming up in just a moment. Is there something that interferes with your happiness? Is something preventing you from achieving your goals? I know there's been times when I wanted to go out and do something, but didn't make it because things I had on my mind kept me from doing what I wanted to do. If you find yourself in a similar situation, then BetterHelp Online Counseling just might be the right solution for you. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. You can connect in a safe and private online environment. It's so convenient, and you can start communicating with a counselor in under 24 hours. This isn't self-help, it's professional counseling. Send a message to your counselor anytime. You'll get timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions, all without having to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room. And BetterHelp can assist you with so many things, from depression, stress, and anxiety, to family conflicts, sleep issues, and more. Anything you share is confidential. And while BetterHelp is not a crisis line, it is convenient, professional, and affordable. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they are recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. I want you to start living a happier life today. As a listener of the Murder My Family, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting BetterHelp.com/family. Join over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health. Once again, go to BetterHelp, that's HELP.com/family, and you'll save 10% on your first month of BetterHelp. Hi, Michael, and thanks for coming on to discuss your Uncle Wayne's case with us.
Hi, Mike. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I'm glad to have you. We've been talking a little bit, and I know this is a real tragic case, and it's very important to you, so I'm happy to have you come on and talk about it. From what I know about your uncle's case, his murder was very brutal, and unfortunately, you're the person that found him. I know you being close to him, that must have been devastating for you. What kind of trauma has that left you with all these years later?
So yeah, I mean, shed a little light on it. Yeah, him and I were basically inseparable. We worked together every day, and he was the favorite uncle, energetic. I mean, he was at a magnifying electric kind of guy. So when I went and when I did find him, yeah, that was a moment that it's taken me a long, long time to ever talk about, and I finally have. I kind of just would brush it under the rug, pretend like it didn't happen. Of course, I'm having really bad PTSD all this time, so I'm trying to act like it's not happening, but I'm using drugs and alcohol to cope with it. But I never really dealt with it until recently. So I'll tell you, when I did walk into the store and find him, I mean, it was, I don't like to say this for people because I never want someone to have to go through something like this, and I really feel for anyone who has. But, I walked in and I found broken glass and bullet casings and blood, and he had 10 shots in his head and 5 in his body, and he was laying there on the floor face down, like in a pool of his own blood. And I was like, that was my one person in the world. Like, he was my family. I love my family more than anything, but he was like my guy. Him and I were just, we were together every single day. We were working together. So it fucked me up. I mean, it did. It fucked me up really bad. And I hate to cuss, but that's the best way to say it. I mean, I was really, really messed up for a long time, and still, I just, to this day, that was 2009, December 26th, day after Christmas, and I tried to live as long as I could. I just got a trauma therapist for the first time. I had my first appointment with him last week. I'm 34 and I was 23 when I found him, so I'm just starting to deal with them in a healthy way to understand the mental pain of it. So it was a lot of suffering, a lot of pain.
To find someone like that in that situation, let alone someone you're so close to that you love, that's got to be beyond comprehension to have to walk in on that scene.
Yeah, it was. So it was the day after Christmas. Christmas night. I picked my uncle up with my sister. We headed to my other uncle's house. So my uncle Wayne, he was my dad's brother. My father's side of the family is Jewish. So I picked up my uncle with my sister. We went to my mother's side of the family, my mother's brother, with my other uncle for Christmas. We all had a good time, partied together. I left, went to my girlfriend's house, stayed up all night drinking with her, woke up the next day, and him and I had an appointment. Not to get into the whole murder story now, but we were meeting with this person, blah, blah, blah. We had an appointment set up. And I was supposed to be at the store with him, but I was hungover from Christmas night, and I went home and took a nap instead. When I woke up, I called him several times. I couldn't get a hold of him, so that's when I went out to the store. I kind of, I went there. I got excited immediately when I saw his car because, we love being together. Figured his phone died or something. And then when I walked in, I didn't see him. There was pictures on the wall we had, like some jewelry. So some casings were broken. There was glass on the ground. It wasn't a robbery. Nothing was stolen. Well, it was a robbery, but nothing was stolen jewelry-wise or anything like that. But I knew right when I walked in, my heart sank into my stomach. And I didn't see him, and I went to the back where there was this kind of like barrier wall, and that's where I found him. He had been dragged to the back, so his shirt was kind of, from being dragged, pulled up around his neck. And it was a lot of shots, so there was a lot of little bullet casings, and they looked like little like knife wounds. I cannot ever forget that image. Like that's the one thing that's in my mind forever and ever. And it's like it looked like. I remember thinking it looked like little knife wounds. And so then I turned his face over and put his face in my lap, and that's when I was. That is probably the worst moment of my life when I turned him around there.
That's awful to have to experience that, and I think people don't realize that you mentioned the PTSD that something like that is going to leave for a lot of people that have to experience that.
Yeah, so I didn't even know for a long time that I had PTSD. I think I lived with PTSD for years, and I never even really I didn't really acknowledge it. Well, first off, too, to go back to what we were just talking about, I was supposed to be with him that morning, so that nap I took saved my life technically. Or, for a long time there was guilt of did it save my life or could I have saved my uncle? So there's a lot of stuff going on for me mentally after this happened. Like, I'm supposed to be there. Why wasn't I there? I could have stopped it. Then it was so painful for me that it was like, why wasn't I there to be killed with him? I was supposed to be with him. Then the mental stuff, there was a lot of paranoia because I knew the killer knew that I was probably the only one who could identify him. I'd met him several times with my uncle. And then the PTSD, it was, at first, it's like, for me, it was paranoia, anxiety, like social anxiety. There's a lot of self, playing victim, blaming myself, feeling sorry for myself, not letting anyone know how I feel. And then the really traumatic stress disorder comes from me, when something would happen, like I said, when I reached out to you, it was even hard for me because the word murder, I tell people I hate. So it's been getting better because I've been exploring a space, but that I couldn't stand it. If someone said the word murder, I hated them, and I had to realize that people don't understand what that does to me. And then it's helped me better understand how other people feel and what matters to them. But so the word murder, if I'm watching a movie where someone got shot, and I see something that looks similar, it reminds me, or a pool of blood, or, for example, the other day I was eating an acai bowl mixed with the berries, and I had a little bit of stress and anxiety leading up to it, and I'm sober now, 2 years, clean and sober, 2 years, living healthy, trying to work on myself, and I still get them. And I looked at that acai bowl, and all I could see was the blue carpet mixed in with these red berries, blood pooled in it, and I got so sick I started almost throwing up. I was scared of the world. I had to rush home, and then it puts me in a depressed state for a couple of days sometimes, depending on how bad it is. But it can come in the form of nightmares as well. I get a lot of paralysis dreams where I feel like someone's coming and trying to kill me, and so I can't sleep with my door not shut and locked because I feel like I need that last protection, a barrier, a chance to maybe protect myself if someone's coming in to kill me. And I to this day, I'm 34 now, no one's coming in my house to kill me. And I know that. But it went from not being able to be in a house by myself alone. I could not. My friends used to make fun of me. They're not bad friends. I'm not saying it in that way. They just didn't understand. And I didn't understand it really either. But if my friends, when I was 24, 25, 26, living in the city, living in Baltimore, if they were with me, I was all right. But if they would go home to their parents or go on trips with their girlfriends or something, I couldn't sleep in the house by myself. I'm a 25, 26, 27, 28-year-old man. And when I would go home alone, I would go search the whole house, everything, every closet, almost obsessively, and sometimes twice, before I would go to bed. When I was in the shower in the morning, if no one was home, I'd constantly get out of the shower and thought I heard something. Like, it was like crazy. Now that I'm looking back on it, it then can build up and sometimes turn into terrible nightmares. And then like I'll wake up in like a really like discombobulated, confused state. Like, and the image it would just keep splatting in my head. So like that like moment of me walking down the steps, like opening our store door, and then me flashing, like turning his face over, will come in my head. And it's like, I like to describe it best as like a tornado with like one really big piece of debris, and like that piece just keeps going up in there and smacking down on the ground, smacking down in your face, and you can't get caught, you can't get out of it. So for a long time, I drank alcohol, I used cocaine mostly to cope. Like, I was self-medicating, for sure. And I would go out socially, network for business, friends, push the limit a lot. But most people, they don't say anything. They don't think you have a problem. They just think you're having fun with them. They don't know that it doesn't stop for you, though, when you guys decide to leave the bar. So, and it was obviously not their responsibility. It was my responsibility to tell people and get help. But so the alcohol and the cocaine use because of the PTSD. So now it's really hard it's hard to stay sober, which is better for my life, because that's the one thing I know. If I'm in one of these attacks, that I can like trip a couple shots of vodka or something, and it'll numb me. I'll be okay, but it's not good for the long run. So it's created a lot of other problems for me as well, not just dealing with the PTSD stuff.
Well, and first I want to say congratulations on 2 years of sobriety. That's a major accomplishment. I think you probably hit the nail on the head too by saying that you could take a shot of something to temporarily numb that pain or that emotion that you're feeling, but it's only masking what's there. And I think you putting a Band-Aid. Exactly. It sounds like you realized that you needed to do more than just that to get to the root of what's going on.
Yeah, and that's where I am now in my life. Like, so my uncle was murdered. Lived with it for a long time. 2015, my dad gets sick with cancer. He dies 2016. I'm holding him in my arms when he takes his last breath and dies. Right after he dies, his father dies. Then my other grandmother dies. Then his mother dies. So 3 people die within the next 5 months right after my dad's death. Then I'm having terrible anxiety, depression, PTSD, alcohol, drugs, real bad. I was like pretty much at my rock bottom at the time. The FBI and United States Attorney approached me to help them with my uncle's case. I knew that like I needed to get justice for my family and do what I needed to do to kind of stand strong, which was hard because I was alone. Like, I didn't want to bring my family in on it, and I didn't want to tell them any of this stuff, especially the things I saw and the way it made me feel, because I'm like trying to protect them from what I had to see and somebody they love too. So that was so hard. Nobody understood. So it's hard, lonely. And then I decided to just get sober, because I was like, I gotta get sober. I'm getting these panic attacks 5 times a week. I'm using drugs and alcohol. I gotta have to stand in front of the person, kill my uncle one day, and take care of this. I'm going and meeting with the FBI, U.S. attorneys several times a month for a year. So probably longer than a year, but that 1 year, the last year leading up to when there was supposed to be a trial, I got sober just on willpower alone, and I just stayed strong until the day of the sentencing. That day, I felt I was good, started drinking again. That lasted about 4 months, ended up in a hospital, that whole other story in itself. Then I went to an addiction clinic and got help. So that was almost 2 years ago in August. So these 2 years, the first year was just like doing what I had to do. These 2 years, this is like the first time I've actually explored the trauma, and been able to get to it, and after all these years. So I have friends. I try to meet with as many people as I can and help them. And I try and tell them, like, don't dig yourself into a deeper hole. I've went through pain and suffering for 10 years. I didn't have to. And then you dig yourself deeper and deeper. And then to even explore where I am now, like what I've been through in the trauma and the mental health stuff, it's taken me all this time because I had to climb out of the hole of all the problems I put in front of myself that came with alcohol and drugs and, just misperceiving the way I want to live my life and how I perceive the world and other humans. And it's now I'm at the surface and now I'm dealing with it. So I tell people get to that surface level as soon as you can, cause yourself less pain and suffering rather. But it's definitely been an interesting road and an interesting journey. And other than missing the people I love, I don't really have any regrets because I'm just trying to control what I do from today moving forward. I know it sounds cliche, but that's really all I try to do. Just move forward every day.
I mean, I'm good for you though for doing the work to make yourself more whole and to recognize what issues are there and to try and combat them. And again, I know this all stems back to you having this close relationship, this bond with your uncle. I know you referred to him as your best friend. Can you tell us a little bit about him and what kind of person he was? Maybe share some of your favorite memories of him.
Yeah. So he lived in Texas most of my life, Dallas. He was always a jeweler, so he always bought and sold precious metals, gold, diamonds, watches, Rolexes, whatever. And he said, when I say jewelry store, it wasn't more so like you picture a big jewelry store in a strip mall. He more so would like buy things from people who wanted to sell it, like private individuals or estates or whatever, and then he would resell it. So he moved to Baltimore, and we knew him obviously our whole lives growing up. He'd come visit, and he'd always take us to the racetrack, and he was like that uncle, like that cool uncle. Like you couldn't wait when he was coming because you knew he was going to take you somewhere, buy you something, whatever you want. He was always dressed nice, fresh, had cool shades on. Always had a different woman, different girlfriend. Never was married, never had kids. I think I'm trying to live just like him. My family says that I'm Little Wayne, but I'm trying to live a little different because I really want a family and kids. But that guy had more girlfriends than anyone's ever met. I mean, he was such a ladies' man. Women loved him, but he was kind, respectful, and he was just that. I try to be very charismatic and energetic, and I truly enjoy being around people. He was like, I tell people, he was like times 1,000 to me. Like when he walked into a room, he was like that person you want to be around. Like when you're at a party or a dinner or something, or you're with a group of friends, and there's like that one person to you that has just like a invisible star above their head, like that's the person you want to like sit next to or kind of be around. Like he was that guy for everybody, and he would give you the shirt off his back. Like anything he had was yours, and he always put other people in front of himself. And I think that's definitely something that I try to do as well. But sometimes I make decisions to do so, whereas I do know he was just honest, genuinely gave a shit more about everyone else he loved than himself, without a doubt.
It sounds like he really rubbed off on you a lot of what you looked up to in him. You try to instill in yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just that being, and look, he wasn't an angel. I always say Uncle Wayne, he lived in Dallas, but I always say Uncle Wayne was a cowboy. He wasn't a perfect person by any means. He had his fair share of hardships and behavior that I knew he regretted and things like that. He didn't operate, like a father would want their son to at all times. He wasn't I'm not saying he was, but he wasn't the best role model for young adults and things like that. But as a human, he was the best role model. I mean, he's like the way he treats people with care and kindness and respect. And if you got something going on, something that matters in your life, like he's the guy who's going to be there for you. And my mom even said when my dad had heart surgery years before he died, and it was like very bad heart surgery. There was a risk of him not making it through it. And my mom, when my uncle died, she always says like, well, she was so heartbroken. She knew Uncle Wayne. She was like, when I thought, your dad was going to die from a heart surgery, like I was so comforted by the fact by knowing like we still had Uncle Wayne, because like he was like our protector. He would always look out for us, and like that's the kind of guy he was. Like my mom knew, as we all did, that like he's going to be, if you need something or something matters, like he's going to be there for you, and like you don't have a say or a choice in it. That's just who he is. So so a lot of that stuff made it even harder to deal with him dying too. Obviously, I'm glad he was like that, but it was like it kind of felt empty. It felt like you lost. You got like a house and it's held up by like 4 pillars. And it was like one of those pillars was just knocked down, and it's like you feel like you can crack at any time. Like it felt very empty without him. Very empty. It still does. It still does at times. Kind
of that missing piece of your life that's gone forever.
Yeah, and it's so many years now. Like the other day, June 16th was his birthday. June 17th was the day my dad died. And it like dawned on me. I was kind of just sitting and like looking at pictures of him and reflecting. And it was like, it's been a long time. And it really hit me hard because he died when he was 56 and he would have been 68 or 67 or 68. And I was like texting with my family. And I'm like, can you guys believe Uncle Wayne? He would have been almost 70 years old. I can't imagine as a 70-year-old, because when he was 56, he told women he was 42. And people believed him. He had very young genes. We all do in my family. People think I'm like mid-20s still. But so I can't imagine him being a 70-year-old man now. So that really hit me this year for the first time. And it has been a very long time.
How long had he been in, since he moved up to start this business? How long had he been up in that area with this business?
So he was in Texas. He moved to Baltimore in 2007 or 8, probably 2008, I would say, because because it was my senior year in college, Towson University. So I was working with him my senior year. He just opened the store up. He moved here. He was hanging with us. He finally opened the store up there. I was helping him because he was really good. He could pick up a diamond and tell you its value. It's very hard to do. He could, pick up a watch, Rolex, Breitling, Panerai, anything, and he could look at it, and he knows he could tell you if it's real or if it's fake and the value. I mean, he was an expert at everything: gold, diamonds, jewelry, precious metals, watches. But he wasn't the most technical. He wasn't really good with computers, things like that. I was always into advertising and marketing. Till then, I was a marketing major in college, and so I would go to his office and help him out, and he wanted to find people who wanted to sell, expensive watches, diamonds, gold, whatever. I knew that I could find people for him, through internet marketing. So I built a website, did some marketing for him, and I started getting people to come to him to sell their stuff, or we would go to them. And then so when I graduated college in 2008, I decided to start working with him full time. So 2008, he actually must have moved in 2007, early 2007, I would say. Because he was here for about a year, then opened the store. So 2008 is when I started working with him, and then the end of 2009 is when he was killed.
Did he, the entire time he was working in this line of work, obviously you're dealing with a lot of money and a lot of valuable stuff, did he ever have any problems with being robbed before, or any dangerous people?
So I don't know if he had ever been robbed, but that's when I tell you he was no angel. And he was cool too, because he would, we would, I actually am really enjoying this right now too, because it's put me back in memory lane. It's not a place I'd go often, but we'd be riding down the road to an appointment. He told me all his stories, and even things like this. He took me, my sister and I went to a strip club with him. I mean, him and I did all kinds of crazy shit together, but my little sister too. The three of us stopped at a strip club for lunch one day, and we always say, we're going to tell your mom, our grandma. And he would say, you can tell my mom, it's okay, but not till after I die. And we're like, what can we tell people when you die at your funeral? He goes, I don't give a shit at that point. Tell them whatever the fuck you want. So some people, they think they want to protect their character or look better than they were or something like that. But with him, it's so comfortable having this conversation because I know he doesn't give a fuck. He's cool with people knowing I don't need to portray him as an angel. He wasn't an angel. So he did tell me some stories. He had some guys years and years and years ago who he got linked up to somehow. I can't remember what location, their names. I probably shouldn't say those even if I did know. And they sold stolen Rolexes. So he went to meet him one time to buy them from these guys. And he was in the back of a car or something, and he said, I'll give you X amount for them, and that insulted him. They put a gun to his head. I said, what'd you do? He goes, I just moved my head closer to the gun. He pushed his forehead in the gun. I said, why? He goes, yeah, fucking freak him out a little bit. And I'm like, okay, so what'd you do? He goes, I just offered him a little bit more, and we made a deal. I'm like cool as a cucumber. He wasn't scared. That's one thing really comforted me when he died, since he died so brutally, was just knowing that he was calm and he was cool and he wasn't scared of shit. He didn't go out seeking crime or to buy things that are illegal or anything like that, but he wasn't afraid to buy something illegal if someone came to him. Back in the day, when it got to the point when I was with him and stuff like that, he was way more calm and stuff like that. But he ran into his fair share of trouble, and he didn't care. He wasn't scared, and he never hurt anybody, but he was threatened in that business a lot.
You sort of knew the person that did this, and I know that you don't even like to mention this person's name, so we won't mention it here in this conversation we're having, but you found out that this person that murdered him was someone you knew. Can you walk us through a little bit of that part of it, how you came to know that the person that murdered him was someone that you knew all along?
Well, so we're working together. We got our little storefront open, and he came in several times to the store, and he would sell us things. He'd sell us little pieces of gold and jewelry here and there, and whatever. That's what people did. They'd come to us and we'd give them cash for whatever. He had then come to us with a diamond that was like 3 carats or something, and he told us it was his grandmother's, right? So we had bought that from him. We took him even in our car to our diamond dealer, and he had, I think, met us out at the bar one night or something too. So I was very familiar with this person, And then what happened is he approached my uncle, had set up an appointment, and then that was the day that he killed my uncle. I think, and it was I couldn't think of anybody else. I actually recently got the FBI. The Baltimore City Police Department recording from the night I found him. They took me to the police station after, and I recently re-listened to the recording, and he was the one who I said did it that evening. So yeah, I was 99% sure at that point.
And what was the reasoning that led you to think it was this person?
So the reason I figured him, because when I got to the store, I found my uncle, and then, I didn't think anything. I remember very vividly in that moment, I wasn't this was this person. In that moment, I was shocked. I was traumatized. I held him. I actually went and grabbed our gun under our desk after and ran through the building looking for somebody to see if someone was still there. And there was a Goodwill on the other side, on the top of our store, on the other side of the building. I ran into the Goodwill with a loaded shotgun and yelled help. People were pretty. Anyway, if I can ever reach the people that are in that Goodwill, I deeply apologize for freaking you out. But so I went through the whole night. Right, the police take me to the police station, and that's when they were sitting in there and they're asking me, and I'm confused and just obviously just kind of what is this real life? So when they started asking me who, I'm my mind turning. And, I knew some stories from his past, from, there was a guy he bought some gold cougar ranch from. He always talked to me about this guy. He offered this guy a price that ended up being worth way more or something like that. And the guy always said he was going to kill him. And that was from probably 15 years earlier or something. So there's things like that are popping in my mind. Also, we're in Baltimore City. So it's I love Baltimore City. It's my home. I've been here for 10. I grew up in the county. I've been here for 11 plus years. I own a business right here in the heart of the city. But it's dangerous. It's not the safest city. So bad things do happen, and bad things can happen anywhere. So I didn't know. Someone just broke in and robbed them, if something went wrong, whatever. And then the only person I could really name and think of when I was talking to that detective was, this guy, because we sold that diamond, bought that diamond from him. We bought a couple other things from him. Then he had approached my uncle about buying jewelry from some guys in New York or something that he was stolen. It was stolen jewelry. Were we comfortable buying it? And my uncle was like I said, no saying. He's maybe, what do they want and all this and that. And the story goes into way, way, way more detail. But I told my uncle, I don't know, man. The worst thing I ever did was steal some bubble gum out of Royal Farms when I was a kid, some shit, something like that, so from a criminal standpoint. So I was uncomfortable. They had spoken several times, and then so that led me to believe, okay, this guy was coming to probably sell something. He brought some stolen stuff up. He talked about some gangsters that had it or something like that, which it turned out to never be any gangsters from New York. And that's what led me to believe that I didn't even think it was him. I thought it was him or some people he knew that set us up. And then from there, I started looking into it. Then I started looking him up on the internet and Facebook, social media. I saw some stuff he was posting. I started remembering some things. I remembered when my uncle told me when he met me one morning, he got to work, and he said, "You never believe he had a bad road rage." It was funny. He said, "You never believe I almost got road rage on today." And I said, who? He goes, Steven. What is it? Steven. I said, shit, what happened? He goes, well, somebody was tailing me, and I backed my car up. I almost backed my car right up on him, and I realized it was him. So, like, then that pops in my head, like 2 months after. And so all these little indicators come, and then it even gets crazier where somebody had messaged me something. And then from there, it was clear as day. I knew exactly who did it. So and Baltimore City had it, and we were dealing with Baltimore City for a long time. And the one detective, I really liked him a lot. He was an awesome guy. But I just don't think they had the resources. There's a high murder rate in Baltimore City. There's, only so many resources and things they can allocate towards investigating it. And I was like, this sucks. Like, we're not going to get justice, and I'm going to live in fear. But my father, like, my dad never, because not that we let go, but I had made a decision a number of years later where I'm just going to try to live my life, because, like, I've got a lot of in front of me, and I want to live my life. I want to be happy, like all my friends. So I kind of just, like, whatever happens, it's out of my hands. And you have thoughts to take it into your own hands. I don't want to go there, but I mean, that's a whole nother fight in your head. No, it's not something I would ever actually bring to reality, but it's what you want to do. My father keeps writing letters to the FBI saying, this is the guy who did it. This is the guy who did it. This is the guy who killed my uncle. Like, we don't even know what my dad was doing half the time. Like, we have no idea. We feel like he's, like, quit life and was out there playing detective, but we're not sure. Like, my dad was awesome, but he was his own weird guy. So he was like, my dad didn't cry. He never got mad. He never got sad my whole life. He let us do whatever the hell we wanted, whenever we wanted. No emotion, always smiling. Everybody loved him, like, just the happiest person, just walking straight in your house without an invitation, smiling. I mean, it's just how he was. But with the stuff with his brother, like, it was scary to see that, because, like, we didn't know that side of my dad existed. But I guess if you take someone's fucking brother from him, that person's going to come out. He might not have even known. So it's hard to see that. But he never gave up, and I kind of tried to let go and move forward. So he kept writing letters to the FBI. The FBI ignoring him. And then all of a sudden, the killer commits another crime where he, I think, impersonated a police officer. He had a crew of people, family members and girlfriends, and they pulled the guy over, and I can't remember the exact details, but they threatened him with a gun and his family, and they stole stuff from him in his store, I believe, but they didn't kill him. So that guy told, I guess, the authorities. They ended up getting caught for that. The FBI came in, and they gave him 30 years for it, and they gave all the people with him a number of years, but lesser sentences. He was the head guy. So when that happened, my dad's letters got to the FBI. They were, like, kind of similar jewelry, similar locations, and they cross-referenced it. They took over the case at that point from Baltimore City. So who knows if they would have, if my dad wasn't writing the letters? Who knows if we would have justice if that other crime wasn't solved? So that was, I think, I can't remember the year he did that one, but I think 2015 might be when they charged him for it. And then the FBI and U.S. attorneys, they had approached me when my dad was alive still. So we knew, but the day the killer was sentenced, which was April 28th, 2018, the day that happened, that's the day that the FBI and the U.S. attorney told me that the reason that they took the case was from my dad's letters. So I didn't know that, and my dad didn't know that. Like, the day my dad died is the day that they charged him with it. Or is that what it is, legally charged him or convicted, or told him? They announced that that's who they were going after. Maybe charged, I'm not sure, but there wasn't a trial yet. So the day we buried my dad in 2016 is the day the FBI announced, hey, this is who did it. This is who we're going after from Wayne Luter's murder. My dad knew that they had taken the case over, so he was happy about that, and he knew that there was going to be a trial on the case. But he didn't know he was the reason that the FBI took it, and the reason that he got me to be able to stand up there and say what I wanted to say and get justice finally. So it's kind of a beautiful story. There's a lot of beauty in it too, if you look at it the right way.
Well, it sounds like once the FBI got involved, they found evidence enough to prove that he was the person that killed your uncle.
One thing I realized and saw with those guys, if you commit a crime or you do something on any other level, I'm sure if the FBI wants to get you and find out, those people are amazing. I mean, they're powerful. Like if they want to catch you for something, there is nothing you have done or did or been or saw or that they are not going to find out. It was unbelievable. Like, and I have so much love and gratitude for these people. Like these people, some of them, it was like their life case. Like it was the case of their lifetime, and they put I mean, what they put into it, you would think it was their uncle or their brother or their son. It was unbelievable. I mean, I wanted to like take these people on vacation. I wanted to like buy them stuff. I wanted to do become anything I could for them. Of course, you're not allowed to do that. They don't let you have offer. I still offer to this day. I still talk to them. But the details they could find out from like where you were location wise. Like his phone was in or around his house 10, 20 minutes before the killing. His phone was in or around the store, during the killing. The gun, the weapon, like there was a big search. It was a big story in our area when it happened. They were diving in this quarry and people were wondering what was going on. I was too. I heard about it on the news or something. I didn't realize that they were diving looking for the gun that my uncle was killed with. The diamond that we had bought from the guy, right? So wasn't his grandma's, obviously, right? So we bought the diamond, we resold somewhere else. I had the information. I was posting the diamond publicly to sell it to private individuals. I had the specs on it, and then they went and they found where that diamond was stolen from. They found the exact house, the exact person. That exact diamond was found. They traced it down to where it was sold to. And they found the diamond to be a big influence. They thought that he apparently had thought he got ripped off for the sale of the diamond, which was his motive for killing my uncle and coming after us. And he stole, my uncle always had cash on, 15, 20,000 cash. So the only thing missing was the cash, his cell phone, and his keys from my uncle. That's how I knew it wasn't a robber either, because he was wearing a Breitling watch. There was other valuable stuff, right? That guy went there. He knew what he wanted. He wanted to kill him, get revenge, took the cash, and then he took the keys and the cell phone for whatever reason that, so we couldn't trace calls or whatever, right? The diamond, though, was real. I couldn't believe when they were able to find everything out on that, because it's pretty hard to find a diamond, right? I mean, it's and that's just one detail. I mean, there's so many more. There's so many people. There's people that they were able to hunt down that I didn't know existed. They pull wreck old things, anything you ever put into your computer that you think is deleted is most likely probably not what I found too. I mean, they found hard drive searches, and look, there's a lot of things that they did that I wasn't a part of. Like, I wasn't like part of their team. I was like a consultant, and they would bring me in when they wanted certain information, like anything that I was able to provide them. So, and they didn't want me talking about it to anybody or anything to anybody, that was hard for me too. But like at the same time, they're doing their job, right? So they weren't telling me and showing me everything they had, and I still to this day don't know. I just saw the amount of work they put in, and when you could hear this U.S. attorney, he's unbelievable. To me, this guy was a Superman. The case he had and what he told that judge that day, I was like, I have never done anything as organized and professional and detailed and to perfection in my life. And like, I imagine these people, they're on salaries, right? Like, there's no incentive here. Like, they're passionate about making the world a better place by putting monsters and bad people away. Like, it's just got a family man, 5 kids. Like, it made me feel like, honestly, kind of, I'm going where I'm now in life. My passion to help other people feels like my story and pain gives it a purpose, and it gives me something greater than myself. And like, I get a big reward of it. So I understand. No monetary reward, but like my business that I built, I make a lot of money. I do really well business wise, and like dealing with these guys, like I felt kind of like a piece of shit. I'm like, I have this business and I operate, and I'm an entrepreneur, and it's like, it's for self gain and for, of course, I do good things with the money and help people now, and that's why I've gone my direction. But like, these people don't. That's not why they're doing it, right? They have a different life purpose, and it's like, it was really motivating to say, honestly, because of even what I do to make money, I don't put the kind of detail and perfection that they did. I really can't say enough about it. I've never seen anything like it in my life. I'm just saying, they didn't just show up that day and say, this is who we think did it. These people said he did it too. They had everything.
Yeah, they really, it sounds like they did a thorough job and dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's and did the work to make him accountable for what he did.
Well, it was going to be a trial at first, but then they, I think what happens is they go through like a discovery period, and they like reveal certain information that they have. So like they don't want to go to a trial because, and so we talked about a trial. It was like, what do you want in the event of a trial? Like I remember I was traveling, I was in Brazil, and I was on a phone call with him. I was like, tough. There's a service to here in America, and I'm sure I was, half lit. I'm on the streets of Brazil, and I was talking to him, and like the death sentence was on the table to an extent. I think that we said it was like because there was other states involved or whatever. I can't remember the details of how or why, and I don't know the law, but they said, I mean, like my idea was like I was like kind of like, fuck yeah, an eye for an eye. But like they said that when you go to trial, people are way less likely to convict someone of the death sentence guilty because they feel that they're guilty for killing someone themselves. So then, like going after them for a life sentence, the probability rate is way higher. But then, if you can get somebody before you have to get to a trial, because it's a long process, you never know what will happen, and they do that. So they reveal, I believe, certain information they have to make the defendant's attorney realize, like, hey, we don't have a shot here. So that's what happened, and they ended up deciding to plead guilty. So we went the day to plead guilty. He changes his mind sometime before. We didn't know if it was just playing games or what, but we go there, whole song and dance. And like every time we do this, I'm going through this pre-prep and all this. We're walking through this scene over, and it's just like, it was, and then I'm living a regular life. I'm trying to be, I got a girlfriend I'm living with, I got friends, I got family, I got a huge business, a lot of employees, and I'm trying to like go do this and then go back to work. And it's like, how the fuck do you do that, So he ends up deciding he wants to withdraw his guilty plea. The judge, then they have to do a hearing for that. So when I go to do that, he gets a new attorney. And I think his play was that, like, my attorney ill-advised me. That's another time the U.S. attorney, the FBI, all those guys, that's another time they just wrecked this new attorney. They destroyed, it was one of the most satisfying things I've ever watched in my life, because this guy was like a weasel attorney, and like, look, this is his job, right? He's an attorney, but like to me, I'm looking at him like, I actually am going up in the elevator with him to the courtroom, and I'm looking at this guy, and I'm like, this guy's a piece of shit. Like, you're scum of the earth, dude. Like, and I hate to think like that, and I hate to, be accusatory towards people, but like, he's defending somebody who murdered my uncle. So like, I had no other choice but to be like, honestly be like, fuck you, you're a piece of shit. And he got wrecked. He didn't have a leg to stand on. He was fumbling over his words. He wasn't prepared. These guys have been preparing for this for years now. And he steps in last minute, and the judge just was like, not a chance in hell. You're not withdrawing your guilty plea. You are guilty. So then we went to what's called the sentencing. So we got to the sentencing date. And that's the day where basically, like, it would be just as if it was a trial, sort of. But instead of the attorney, U.S. attorney, presenting the information to a jury to try to convince them that the killer is guilty, they present all their information to the judge, because we're trying to go for the maximum sentence. And then that was a long process. They go through absolutely everything, every detail. That's the part that I tell people was like that was the one day in my life that was like a movie. Like I still look back on it and think it doesn't even seem real. But and then you get to speak as well. So like my dad's dead at this point. My grandma's dead. She couldn't live with her son being gone too. Both sons now. So my uncle got murdered. He was their baby. And then my dad was killed. My dad died of cancer, and she just was like, she died of a broken heart right after my dad. But, well, then her husband died. My dad's dead. Then she died next, and she died of a broken heart. She was just, I went and got her from Florida and moved her to Baltimore. And she died like 2 months after she was here. So, so I'm going in there to this, sentencing, to see this monster, to get justice for my family, and I'm like and I was tough. That, I wasn't going to look away or back down, or, I'm a soft, emotional, sensitive type of person, but like, your body and your mind do amazing things when you know it's like game time. So I got this. I was the last one to speak before the judge made the sentencing. I got to say what I wanted to say. And it's hard doing that though when you're doing it for all these people you love and they're all dead. And then at the same time, there's other people in your family, like my dad's sister moved to Israel. His other brother lived in Florida. I had a cousin that was here for dental school. He came. My other cousin, Kayla, was still here. She came. But it's lonely, you know, because I felt like I was carrying it for my family and myself by myself. And I also want to protect them. And then I'm sitting next to my mother and my other baby sister, too. She's one of four. My youngest sister's 6 years younger than me. She got up and spoke. And I can't talk about that because I will just break down crying. But it's like I'm seeing my baby talk about her uncle, you know, and this person. And I'm like, look, she's so fucking tough. And that's hard. That's hard to do. It's hard to see. But, you know, it all ended up for the better.
How much time was he actually sentenced to?
So that was it's unfortunately not a fairy tale, obviously, but it's not a fairy tale ending either. So they had warned myself and my family that the judge is like an older judge. This guy was like in his 80s and young 80. I think he was 81, 82. And they said he's really hard on people who commit, is that white collar crimes? I don't know. Tax fraud, tax evasion.
Yeah, white collar crimes, I think would be that kind of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, he'll give you the house apparently for that. But they said we're not promised anything with this guy. And this case was so, I mean, there was no one in the world who could have heard this and think this guy didn't do it. So a premeditated, unnecessary murder, you know, thought out and planned, you know, tedious for however long he took to plan it. And he was serving 30 federal years already for the crime he committed after my uncle. So he was, I think when he killed my uncle, he was only 20 years old. So now at this time, he's like almost 30. We get to the sentencing and the judge says, the judge gives him 20 years. So I'm like, what the fuck? You know, they want to throw me out of the courtroom. I'm like, it's like, you got 30 years for tying someone up and saying you're going to kill him, and you get 20 years for planning and actually killing someone. And then you hear of all these other things. The justice system too is tricky. I mean, I have all the trust in the world in the people who need to do their job correctly to find things out when it's the appropriate time. But like, there's so many hoops, you don't know what you're going to get. And we're going back and forth. They're withdrawing, they're delaying. It took all these years, the process. That is hard. Someone's family. And like, look, I'm looking at this stuff for this, you know, what's going on in the country today, George Floydness and his family and all these people protesting, right? And like, and I've seen other families who have had bad things happen. And a lot of it's with the, you know, the equality for blacks. And it's like, oh my God, like, and these people too, I'm thinking like their family members, they don't understand right now, this is going to take fucking ever. And like, that makes it so much harder because you want to they say like, this is the person who did it. You're like, oh my God, thankfully. And then it takes years later and then it takes all your time and energy and effort. And really like the time, energy and effort to see people and meet with them and help and do what you have to do is fine. That's going to be priority for you. But like the emotional time, energy and effort, I'm saying that drains you. Like it's really hard. It is very, very hard. So, they gave him 20 years. I mean, I was fucking pissed. I was also very happy. Like it was like one of the worst days of my life, one of the best days of my life. It's really weird to explain. So he had 30 federal years and he got 20 on top of it. So he's got 50 and they're not served consecutively.
Well, that's good. That way he's in there longer overall.
Yeah. He's got to serve the 30, then he can serve the 20. So he's got 50. But for me, it was just the point. It was like you took someone's life on purpose. Why is your life? Why are you not serving life?
Yeah, it wasn't a case of like an accidental thing or a spur of the moment thing. He went there with the intent to do this.
Right.
Wow. So I know this has been really a huge ordeal for you, and you were close to your uncle, and this has led you to a point now where you've been working on a documentary about the entire experience. Tell me a little bit about the documentary you're doing.
So yeah, so it's been cool. So it's been therapeutic. I had kind of like just the type of person I am. Like I've taken it upon myself sort of when I got to a healthy place. Like when I was feeling like I'm a happy me and a strong version of me and I'm taking care of like all the parts of my life that I want to, I started like help. I realized that I had like a very natural ability to like help people who have been through pain, trauma, death, whatever. And I would be able to sit down with somebody and like without like planning it or getting or trying to research what to do, like just naturally help them by telling them like what I've been through. One, I realized that like by opening up and sharing and talking to others, like I have more people, Mike, that I could tell you about, which I would never tell you their names or anything, who have told me that they wanted to kill themselves or they thought about killing themselves or they've done this themselves or they were depressed or this or that nobody in their life who knows them would ever have thought that. So when you are able to like open up and share and tell somebody like, this is my pain, this is what I've been through, this is how I've dealt with it, this is what's helped me. There's people that come out of the woodwork to trust and open up to you as well, because it's like you've suffered, you have pain too. There's a bond in the pain and the suffering. There truly is. It's like when somebody dies and you say, I'm sorry, let me know how I can help you. You know, and I tell people, don't get upset with others. You know, like this young kid I was talking to was 21 and he reached out to me and both his parents died, you know, and he's getting pissed off a little and upset. People, what can I do? How can I help you? And I said, I know what you're thinking. And he said, what? I said, you're thinking, fuck you. Like, what do you know about your mother and dad being gone? Can you bring my mother and father back? And if you can't, then you can't fucking do anything for me. And like, you want to be upset and negative and you're a victim. Like those people truly want to help and they care about you. But at the end of the day, like, unless somebody understands the pain and the suffering, then they don't have too much to offer is what I've found. That, like I said, there's a bond in it. So just by like knowing what I've been through, my experience and my journey and what's helped me and what hasn't, I've been able to naturally help people. And I've realized what selfishly does for me. So, you know, I've gone as far as having people, like a friend live on my couch instead of with his family when his mother was dying because, you know, what I've been through with my father, and not much of his family or friends were with him. And I was going with him to the hospital, watching his mother with tubes in her and being ready to die because like he felt comfortable with me. There's a bond in it. And I like enjoy being there for people, like the moments that matter most to them, and like doing something for them, whether it's writing a letter or a conversation that like they will remember forever. And it has the actual ability to possibly, you know, point their life and their pain in the right direction. I'd reached out to a guy that I'm connected with in Baltimore. His name's Richard Yeagley, and he's a storyteller, journalist, storyteller. He's got some very successful podcasts and work he's done. So I reached out to him to make a video, sort of like a Goalcast video. There's this Facebook page I like called Goalcast, and I tell like motivational stories in like 5 to 12 minute spans usually. And I wanted to make one of those. So I reached out to him for that reason. I also was connected to Rafael Alvarez. He was a writer at the Baltimore Sun for years. His dad worked on the docks. He worked with David Simon, created The Wire and all the Treme and all kinds of, series and shows. And Rafael actually wrote on The Wire. So I think he was one of the main writers on the first 2 or 3 seasons. Created a bunch of characters. He's an amazing person as well. So Rafael and I were writing a book about my uncle's story at one point, but when we were doing it, it was too hard for me. So a couple years go by, I reach out to Rich to make this video. Rafael comes in and he's going to help write on it. And we got started, and that was, 9-10 months ago maybe. And it just kept it quickly turned into like, hey, like this is a bigger story. There's more here. So it turned into a documentary. So the documentary is told through like interviews, archival footage, narrator, and it goes news articles, old FBI recordings, crime scene photos, old video. Like I was recording myself during the trial, like as I was going to the courthouse and like updating my friends, telling them what was going on. So like we have all that footage. I didn't know I was going to make a documentary. So the first part tells the past from when I found my uncle murdered to after my dad and all my grandparents died to when I get to like my rock bottom and end up in the hospital. And that was August 23rd, 2018. So it goes from 2009 when my uncle was killed to August 23rd, 2018. Interviews my mother, my brother, some close friends, some other important key people. So then Rafael Alvarez is actually kind of the interviewer on a bunch of it. He tells his account of the story. He was in some of the courtroom scenes or some of the courtroom with me. And then the second part of it, the first part is like the trauma and the death and the hardship and me spiraling out of control and like, what it did to me, my life, whatever. And then, so it shows the trauma and the disaster basically. And then the second part is shot Verte, it's called, I believe, which is like it's in the now. So it's like me exploring this stuff that's happened to me and then using it to try to help others. So like I had written a speech that I was going to be speaking and giving on stages to try to come out like openly in public and share my story. Raphael obviously helped with the speech, so that we're recording that. All kinds of other stuff of like what's going on with my life now and how I'm progressing and mentally but getting better and healthier and happier and trying to be successful as an entrepreneur and help other people. But then write this speech through all these interactions I'm having with people privately in secret. I'd love to show in the documentary, but I'm too nervous. I wouldn't want to approach them and think that I tried to help them for something that I'm trying to do and that my reason wasn't anything else other than to actually be genuine and help them. So I didn't approach anyone that I've spoken to. And I got probably 100 people at this point that I've met with, spoken to, helped with some real serious shit in their life. The speech was to come out and just share, open up, tell people like, hey, open up, share. And it's not about me opening up and sharing during the speech. It's about when I did it, the day I left the hospital and decided to go to an addiction clinic and psychologist and doctor and learn about myself, tell my family the pain I've been dealing with, suffering, the problems. I released it on social media instead last week, and I think it was quick. It resonated with people. It got like 200,000 views in 2 days, and I've realized there's a lot more people that are dealing with this. We're still, like I said, we're still in the process of making the documentary. It's not done yet. We had a couple directions, and it kind of just keeps taking us to another place. But for me, the whole heart of it is just helping people to open up, to share, and not suffer in silence.
Well, it sounds like it's been a way, like a type of therapy for you to work on it too.
Big time. Yeah, it is. And it was hard too. Like Rich, the producer, got he got crime scene photos and we got the recording from the FBI, obviously. And all, I've had to explore and visit some places that I tried to not visit and explore. And what I've realized is instead of like trying to like hide those places through like drugs and alcohol or medicine or mentally just displacing myself, like what I've realized, like visiting those places is really hard. But like now, like the reason I'm talking to you right now and saying this stuff is because I've visited those places. So like if I would have talked to you about this 3 years ago or 2 years ago, I wouldn't be able to have this conversation. And the conversation could probably drive me to a bad place. But, I've been able to get myself to a place where I can talk about it. It's easier, it's more comfortable. And also I know that I'm using it to try to help other people. So the pain sort of has a purpose. So it's just a beautiful way of looking at it rather than the way I used to. Like, I'm doomed. My life sucks. I want to kill myself. I found my uncle, my dad died, my grandparents all died. I'm addicted to drugs and alcohol. Like, life isn't fair. My life was not set out to be like this. I'm not the person I am. So, and that's the road that people keep going down a lot of the time, right? And it's a road I was going down, and I see how dangerous of a web that is, how dark it is. So to get out the other side of it and then use it to help other people, for me, is like, it's the way to show other people that you can do it too. Like, you don't have to get out and post your story on the internet and do what I'm doing. If you do, great. If you want to use your power, your superpower that you're going to get through trauma to help other people, that's great. But if not, you can still find a way to, find happiness. So that's kind of my driving force behind it. And I've realized that it is helping people.
And it sounds like a very positive thing and a positive way to help people with the experience that you've had. Where can people find out more about the film and when it's going to be ready and that kind of stuff? So
the best thing to do would probably be, since we're still making it, we're still trying to figure out some like distribution stuff. So look, the goal for us obviously would be like, a Netflix or something like that, but who knows? At the end of the day, if I have to post it on my YouTube, I will. But we have had some pretty big meetings and met with some powerful people, so we'll see what happens. But so the best thing to do is just honestly follow me on social media. And then the closer it gets, when we get to finally releasing it, they'll be able to figure it out from there. So I've mainly used kind of my Instagram and my Facebook, which are both just at my name, Michael, Michal, Andrew Reuter. Reuter's Ruder. So it's at Michael Andrew Reuter on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, hopefully people will go there and, see what you're doing, watch your progress, and you can share updates with them. And this sounds like something that a lot of people that listen to this show would probably take comfort in watching and seeing what you've done with the negative experience you've had and turned it into something positive.
No, yeah, and I appreciate you giving your platform and your time. I truly do. And I recently posted that life story speech video that I was supposed to give on stages, but coronavirus hit, so I did release on social media instead. So that's on both those pages right now. And if people message me, I always respond. It's just a matter of, sometimes I'm busy, get a lot of stuff, I always get back to people. I try to let people know, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a doctor, but look, I'm someone to talk to if you want, and, whatever I can do for somebody, I will.
I love when I see people that have experienced something really tragic and horrible, and they do good work to try and help other people. So kudos to you on that. I can't thank you enough for coming on to talk about your Uncle Wayne's life and, unfortunately, his death. But it's good to see that you're channeling to something positive here to help others.
Thank you, Mike. No, I really appreciate it, man. I truly do. Like I said, it's the first podcast I've done in this space, and the first time I've really publicly actually told some of those details. So I truly, truly appreciate your platform and the opportunity you've given me.
Thank you once again for joining me for this episode of The Murder of My Family. Thanks goes out to Debbie Buck at TrueCrimeDiva.com for writing and research assistance in this episode. We'll be back here soon with an all-new episode of The Murder of My Family. In the meantime, I'd like to wish everyone out there a happy and safe 4th of July weekend. And before you go, remember that every murder victim means something to somebody.